Hello, everyone. My name's Evan Jacobs, and welcome to another edition of Boxing Time TV. We have a very interesting fight here between Gary Russell Jr. and Mark Magsayo. Russell is 33, Magsayo's 26. Gary Russell is 5'5", Magsayo is 5'6". They're both featherweights. 64 reach for Russell, 68 reach for Magsayo, 31 fights, one loss for Gary Russell. That one loss to Vasyl Lomachenko, a prime Vasyl Lomachenko. 23 wins, 0 losses to Mark Magsayo. We're going to do all this breakdown as we kind of continue this. It's a 12-round fight, three-minute rounds, 10-point must scoring system, no mandatory 8 count, 3 knockdown rule waived. All right. And so we begin now. And folks, I think this is actually going to be a highly entertaining fight. Gary Russell is very, very interesting in that and I'm not sure what the reason is. I'm sure there has to be one. Is it one of those inactive guys, but comes back and beats good fighters? As I said, only one loss to Vasyl Lomachenko. Magsayo is I believe he's promoted by Manny Pacquiao. He fought on the Pacquiao-Ugas undercard and got a lot of attention for that, but was in a very, very tough fight and really had to dig down deep to win. Started off looking great, and then the guy kind of hung on and then dropped him, and then it was so. Anyway, it's not like I believe Magsayo is going to come and walk right through Russell, and I think in some ways Russell could take him to school. It just depends on if Gary Russell, at 33, has all that inactivity caught up to him. Sorry about that. As you guys know, I run kind of a sloppy show here. So I just, watching how to blow my nose, have to do it. I got my water. I'm ready. I want to say this bout's happening on the 22nd. I'm going to look up my stats. I have to do it on my phone. Okay. And right now, Russell kind of fighting from a distance. Magsayo coming forward, landing some shots, seems to be a bit neutralized. All right, so hold on. Let's see this. Okay. So here we have Gary Russell. All right. So he is, I believe he's he's been a featherweight champion for a long time. I don't really talk about the WBC, IBF, WBA. I don't have anything against them. I just, it's so confusing. Even what the WBA is doing, all that stuff, they're getting rid of champions. I don't know. But I think if Gary Russell can make this a technical fight, Magsayo is going to have a lot of problems. What Magsayo needs to do is put punches together, come forward, and hurt Gary Russell in a way that Gary Russell can't get on track. If Gary Russell is allowed to do what Gary Russell does, Magsayo is going to have a lot of problems. And so far, it kind of looks like Russell's been able to do that. He fights him on the 22nd. And Gary Russell, last fight, Tug Nyambar, decision. Kiko Martinez, TKO, decision over Joseph Diaz. Oscar Escandon, Johnny Gonzalez, Christopher Martin. He's fought tough guys. He's a smart guy. He's a high ring IQ. One judge has it 10-9 for him. Another judge has it 10-9 for Magsayo. Another judge has it 10-9 for Russell. So Russell ahead by 1 point as we move into the second round. Now, like I said, I think it's going to be a technical fight. And if Gary Russell can do what Gary Russell does, Magsayo is gonna have problems. And Magsayo, like I said, 23-0, 16 knockouts, has a lot of power. Has a victory. His last fight was a very good victory over Julio Ceja. That's the bout that I saw. Haven't really seen. That's the thing. I've not seen him before this, and I'm looking at his records. None of the names really jump out to me. In that Ceja fight, I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna see if there's a wiki on it. It was he beat him in the 10th round, and but it was one of those things where Magsayo started off, dropped Seha, and then Seha dropped him, and it was just one of those things that looked like Magsayo might lose, and so anyway, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Magsayo now letting his hands go, trying to be more assertive in the second round, and as I've said, I'm not saying anything new, but it seems to me that when both fighters are able to do their style, we get the best fight as fans, and that's kind of what we're seeing now. And this is a good fight, and Magsayo's landing, and he's trying to, and so is Russell. So it's a solid fight. It's going to be a good fight, I believe. And it's just going to be technical. I think we're going to see it, unless Mark Magsayo can do something early to really pull Russell out of this. And right now, it doesn't seem like Magsayo is doing it, but it's early days in the fight. And Russell has pop too, so it's not like he doesn't have the ability to have the respect of Mark Magsayo. Oh, just drinking some water. I gotta stay hydrated. I'm happy to be able to get this fight in. I'm seeing it right here. Yeah, coming up next, it looks like we're going to be doing Jacobs versus Reiner. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Next up is going to be Thurman versus Barrios in February, because we're getting all the fights. We're getting the January fights that I wrote down. Then it's going to be Jacobs Reiner, and then it's going to be Taylor Catterall, and then I believe it's going to be Ortiz McKinson, Uga Spence. I might even do the Paul Gallen, the Sonny Bill Williams fight. I mean, it just depends. It depends. I try to do one of these a week. I was off this week, so I've done 3, and I try to get ahead, just so because I want to show the subscribers, hey, I really, really appreciate you, and I want you to feel that you are getting something, and that you're getting sort of a look at the fights that are coming up. And Gary Russell, 10-9, 10-9 on 2 of the judges' scorecards. So Mark Magsayo not being blown out. He's down by 3 points as we head into the 3rd round, and like I said, certainly not being blown out, but he has Gary Russell in front of him. Gary Russell is finding his zone. He's going to continue to find his zone, and if Mark Magsayo doesn't begin to do more, we're going to be in like the middle of the fight, and he's going to find himself behind the 8 ball against one of the best fighters in boxing. And I'm going to look up. I've never understood why Gary Russell is so inactive. I don't know that anybody really has a reason for that. It doesn't seem to make sense. Yeah, it doesn't really say why. So yeah, so I just found something. He talks about being an actor, but look at him now. He's landing on Magsayo. I mean, I'm telling you guys, look at that. Look at what he's doing. I mean, it's just brilliant. It's brilliant. And Magsayo's a good fighter. And Magsayo now, though, is in the position where it seems like Russell's become the puncher. And if Magsayo lets him do this, it's going to, if Magsayo, and we know that he has the heart to dig down deep. And we know that he has the heart to kind of take a good shot, come back from it. But one wonders why. So what it's saying is what he said was basically he wants to fight the best in the division. He has to defend his title against mandatory challengers, otherwise lose the title. He doesn't want to do that, which is what he feels he's been relegated to do. And so he says he's going to call it quits. Now, I don't know if that's the case. And, you know, right now in this Magsayo fight, Magsayo had a really good round in that third round. So the judges are giving that to two of the judges are giving it to him. One of the judges have it even. So this is a 1-point fight going into the fourth. And like I'm saying, it's a technical fight, but I think Gary Russell, this is the kind of fight that he wants. He doesn't have Magsayo rushing him. He doesn't have Magsayo staying on him and trying to mug him. He has Magsayo at a distance. He's picking Magsayo apart, beating him up on the inside, going to the body, going to the head. And I think over time that's going to wear Magsayo down a lot. I don't know that he's going to knock him out, but I think that it could... what's the word? What's what I'm looking for? He could just wilt enough to make it so that Russell cruises to a decision. But Gary Russell, I mean, looking really, really good here, I think. And Magsayo's having his moments too. He's not out of the fight. I just would like to see Magsayo being busier like he was in the third round. That's how he's going to get more rounds. That's how he's going to really give Gary Russell the problems that he wants to. Oh, and going to the body is Gary Russell. And I'm saying he's in there, he's fighting, and I give Magsayo credit. He's landing on him, and we're at the halfway point here, folks. And these guys are going for it. This is like technical, beautiful stuff. I mean, this is beautiful featherweight action. And it's the kind of stuff, I mean, right there. Look at Magsayo finding a way to land. But, you know, Gary Russell's controlling the distance, and because of that, he's controlling the fight. And then right as I say that, of course, Mark Magsayo slams him with two amazing shots to the mouth. All right, and whoa, wow, one of the judges giving that to Magsayo. They're saying that they're both tied. One judge having it even, another judge giving it to Magsayo. So right now, Gary Russell 116, Mark Magsayo 115. So folks, we're heading into this fight. It could come down to being a 6-round fight. And look at Gary Russell though. Oh, and look at that, Mark Magsayo's coming on. So we could be seeing something right now where maybe all that inactivity and Mark Magsayo's come forward style maybe starting to pay off for him a little bit as we move through this. Oh, look at that. Magsayo coming forward and landing, and he's throwing his shots, folks, and he wants to get Gary Russell Jr. And has Gary Russell wilted? Here he is. He's having a moment, and it looks, oh, wow, and he has Gary Russell hurt. Look at Mark Magsayo coming on, folks, having a moment. Is this the point where I thought Gary Russell might be taking over? Mark Magsayo appears to be taking over, but you never know. If Gary Russell can pull something out, if he can drop him, if he can set him back a little bit, showing him, hey, look, you think you're coming forward, but you're not. Suddenly, that takes out a lot from Magsayo. But Magsayo pummeling him against the ropes. And I'm telling you, Magsayo doing it again. And we're going to, if this keeps up, Mark Magsayo could put himself in the driver's seat. And suddenly it becomes a thing where Gary Russell Jr., an inactive fighter, suddenly finds himself having to dig very, very deep. Once again, not that he can't do it, but this is the kind of stuff that we love seeing here. And this is a back and forth brawl. And it's the kind of thing that Gary Russell needs to be prepared for, because Mark Magsayo is landing with alarming frequency. Oh, look at Gary Russell Jr. Oh, look, he's coming on at the end is Gary Russell. He's landing. He's hurting Mark Magsayo. And that's got to take a lot out of Magsayo, too. He's landed all those shots. Oh, even on one judge's scorecards. Mark Magsayo taking it on another. Mark Magsayo taking another. So now Mark Magsayo up by 1 point. Folks, this is one of the closest fights that I've ever seen since I did the Devin Haney-Ryan Garcia fight. That's about that you need to watch. This is getting very, very interesting. Gary Russell was controlling the distance, and now it doesn't seem like he is. Although Mark Magsayo kind of looking for a way to come in and hoping to counter, and he's hurt Gary Russell. He hit him up against the ropes. Russell, though, came back at the end and did a lot in the last like 30 seconds. Oh, look at Russell countering him. And Gary Russell's been countering very, very well in this fight. And that's one thing, like I'm saying, I think that could be Magsayo's undoing. Kind of reminds me of James Toney versus Iran Barkley. A lot about this fight in odd ways reminding me of the Robert Quiroga, Kid Hakeem Anafawashi fight. Bout in which both fighters gave their all, and then in the end, Kid Hakeem just collapsed. He couldn't believe that he had lost that fight, and it took so much out of him. And I'm going to look this up. I don't know that Kid Hakeem ever came back from that. Oh, Mark Magsayo dropping Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell, folks, is going to have to figure something out here. He's got a strong Mark Magsayo in front of him, and look, Magsayo dropping him. But we saw that against in the Seha fight, the fight before this, and Mark Magsayo was soon in the fight of his life. So we'll see if Gary Russell can kind of bring that out, if he can go back to establishing distance. But wow, Mark Magsayo, is he pulling ahead here in the sixth round? Oh, and he's hurt again. Mark Magsayo just letting his hands go, folks. Sorry. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, look at this. They're saying that Gary Russell Jr. is very tired. Magsayo is very tired. 10-9, 10-8, 10-8, all for Mark Magsayo. So he pulls ahead here, folks. He's ahead by 6 points coming into the final 6 rounds of this fight. So now we're gonna see, can Magsayo keep it going? They're saying that he's tired. And as we saw in the Seha fight before this, Magsayo looking good, dropping him, and then all of a sudden it becomes a totally other thing. Can Gary Russell now use his technical skills, if they are both tired, use that to make the difference? Or will the brutal punching power, will the come forwardness, will the youthful enthusiasm of Mark Magsayo, he's been able to land on Russell all night tonight. We'll see if that continues. Well, actually, not as much in the early rounds, but he's really touching Russell a lot now. And Russell's behind the 8 ball, folks, and getting hit in the body like that is not doing him any favors. Oh, and Gary Russell wobbling Mark Magsayo, folks. I'm telling you, this is what I love about this sport. How, look at this. Oh, I'm telling you, I think we're going to see a good fight when they meet on the 22nd. Oh, look at that right hand. Look at that right hand. Gary Russell Jr. trying to lead with the right hand, wobbling and hurting Mark Magsayo in this round. Gary Russell making a comeback, now fighting with a great defense. Has Mark Magsayo coming forward, is trying to pick him apart. Can Magsayo continue to do that? Can he land? Can he do what he needs to do punch-wise and punch output-wise? Folks, I'm telling you, we're hearing that they're both tired, but they are not fighting like this in the 7th round of this fight. It's the kind of thing. It's up to Gary Russell Jr. now to work his way back into this fight, because Mark Magsayo had a big 6th, and he's been coming on, I think, since the 3rd. It's a tall order for Mark Magsayo. Not impossible. Oh, and landing hard on Gary Russell again, but Gary Russell survives it, and now goes behind his high defense. And look, and Gary Russell wobbling him again. Mark Magsayo, I'm saying, needs to be cognizant of this. Gary Russell can hit. He's a southpaw. He's crafty. And just when it seems like you may have him, he's going to do things to keep himself in the fight. And both these guys are very much in the fight. We're going to have to see what the judges say now. That to me looks like an even round. And now Magsayo, which I believe he was cut in the Seha fight, he's also cut now. One judge giving it to Magsayo, one judge giving it to Russell, another judge giving it to Russell. So Russell whittling away. Now Magsayo up by 5 points as we head into the 8th round. If I'm Gary Russell Jr., I've got to become a surgeon. I've got to open up that cut, because Mark Magsayo is ahead on points, and it's not something. It's not, this is, he's not a very active fighter. So being in this position is not something he's familiar with. You have Mark Magsayo coming forward, and if I'm Gary Russell, I let him throw a lot of punches. I really try to bear down and open up that cut, and just try to wear the young fighter down. But Magsayo, is a guy that's always in great shape. So I don't know if it's going to happen. And once again, you are watching Boxing Time TV. My name is Evan Jacobs. If you like what you're seeing, please like, comment, and follow. Please, ring the bell. Please share these links with your family and friends. Also, please follow us on Instagram, Boxing Time with Evan. Not really much happens there other than I promote the fights that I do here on Boxing Time TV. But, hey, just trying to keep, I figure it's been going for a while. Just keep it going. Sometimes I sort of get more time and I'm able to do more. But right now, just maybe like a post a week. But I try to do one of these podcasts every week too. So, you guys can kind of look forward to that if you enjoy it. If not, you can also, be here for that too. I do a sloppy, fun podcast that hopefully helps in some way look at fights a little bit differently. Oh, and jabbing. Jabbing right now, and that's the thing is Russell's not being busy enough. Oh, but now he's going to the body, and it's those things. It's those little things right there, those little kind of body shots, those things that could stop. But he needs to let his hands go more. He needs to be hitting Magsayo in a way like he's doing right there that makes sense. Right there, beautiful stuff. But Magsayo ultimately is outworking it. That is a problem for Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell fighting with a high guard, just landing a right hand on Magsayo, and I don't know that Russell's really opened up the wound on Magsayo more. I think Magsayo's probably winning this round, but Gary Russell's doing really good little things at the end of the rounds to kind of steal them, it seems, and trying to make him pay. But it seems like Magsayo's buttoned up this round a bit, unless, of course, if something happens like it's happening right now, where he's landing. All right, so probably another round from Mark Magsayo. We'll see what the judges say. We have 4 rounds left. They're saying Gary Russell's very tired, Magsayo's very tired. One judge has it even. Another judge has it for Mark Magsayo by 2 points. Another judge for 2 points for Mark Magsayo. So Gary Russell doing so little in that round that Mark Magsayo increasing his lead. And so now he's up by 9 points. So folks, Gary Russell's going to start having to do more. We have 4 rounds left, and Mark Magsayo is putting this in the bank. Oh. Landing is Magsayo as Russell tries to come forward, and Russell Russell landing on him now, folks. I'm telling you, Russell, when he controls the distance, when he controls what's happening, he's able to do it. It's just Mark Magsayo's just done more of it. Oh, look at that. Look at that, folks. These guys landing, and we'll see is Gary Russell coming back into this fight. I'm saying if he can win this round, then he's down by 6. He could then even it up over, in the championship rounds. But look at Magsayo fighting back with heart, and you have Gary Russell landing. And it's the kind of thing that I think that if Gary Russell's losing and somehow opens the cut more on Magsayo's eye, if he's losing and somehow opens that cut more and then gets the victory, it's not going to be very satisfying for anybody. Although this has been, like I said, a very, very good fight. And Magsayo fighting very, very well, folks, taking a lot of really good shots. He can be hurt, but he also throws a lot of shots, but he can also hurt his opponents. And him dropping Gary Russell really seemed to kind of change things. In the final minute of this, the 9th round. Oh, wobbles Gary Russell. Oh, punching him into the ropes. So I'm saying this is all stuff. Mark Magsayo now stealing this round. He kind of had lost the first half. Oh, and look at Gary Russell finding a way to measure him with the left and land with the right. Guys, we're seeing great stuff from both fighters. Magsayo, such a tough guy. Oh, gets wobbled. Oh, man, I'm saying he was standing there, he was taking a picture, and Gary Russell coming back now, landing with the left, wobbles him. And I'm saying I think is a round certainly for Gary Russell, although Magsayo wants to turn it around for himself. We'll see what the judges say. We're hitting the championship rounds, 10, 11, and 12. So now Magsayo has a gash over his eye. He wins that round on one judge's scorecard, wins it on another judge's scorecard. So, folks, he's up by 12 points at this point. He's won the fight. Gary Russell needs a lot of knockdowns to win. And it's something that he can do, or this could be a TKO for Gary Russell Jr. because of the gashes on Mark Magsayo. So it's just a question of, can Gary Russell do more to drive home the case that the fight should be stopped because of that? And he's landing. He's starting where he did before. You know, Magsayo's not going to want him to do that. He's not going to want to get hit. He knows that the cut's bad. And that's what we see. And so, we're on pins and needles here because Russell could stop him on a TKO or drop him or something. Magsayo could drop him too or knock him out. I mean, it's right now, folks, this is at the highest level. And look at Gary Russell and look at Magsayo finding a way to land. But Gary Russell just pinpoint, like I said, like a surgeon. Oh, and right there. That's not what Mark Magsayo needs to have happen. He's from a distance. Gary Russell's controlling that distance. It's when Magsayo gets close, bullies him into the ropes. That's what gives him the advantage in this fight. Oh, and look at Russell now. Determined not to go to the ropes. Knows that his best chances have been here. And look, he's showing terrific defense. Oh, and now he gets wobbled. Right as I say that, seems to always happen. Magsayo finds a way to wobble him. I'm telling you, folks, story of my life as a wannabe broadcaster. Every time I say that something's happening, the opposite happens. Oh, and look at that. Magsayo landing hard on Gary Russell. Oh, so he's landing with him. That noise you hear is the other person that lives here. They are listening to a podcast. And so Gary Russell now continuing to try to control the distance. Once again, this could be an even round. I think Gary Russell's maybe edged him this round. He's thrown more punches. But was this Gary Russell's last stand? And then Magsayo takes him out of that by wobbling him. It's there's just a lot going on, folks. A lot going on as the seconds whittle away in the 10th round. So now we have two more rounds, the 11th and the 12th. They're saying Gary Russell's tired. Magsayo's very tired as a guess over time, but Magsayo taking that round on one judge's scorecard, one judge having an even, another judge giving it to Gary Russell. So now Gary Russell still behind by 12 points. Folks, he's going to need a knockout to win. He's going to need a knockout. There's no way I believe he'll make it up with knockdowns unless he gets a bunch of knockdowns. So he needs a knockout. And so who would have thought that Mark Magsayo would have outpointed him and built up a lead. But now Mark Magsayo, it's the slimmest of things because of that gash. Wow. And then you have Gary Russell still trying to do what he does best. And he's trying to do what he did in the first. This sort of looks like what happened in the first few rounds of the fight where Gary Russell was controlling that distance. Mark Magsayo showing his punching power, showing his ability to be vicious. And right there, Magsayo he's throwing more punches. Gary Russell Jr. not letting his hands go the way that he should, not driving home the point that maybe this should be stopped. And now, Mark Magsayo doing good work with his jab. And, it's looking like he could take a decision over Gary Russell. We will have to see. It's a theater of the unexpected. Anything can happen. Never over till it's over. Everyone knows that. And it would not be out of the realm of possibility that maybe Gary Russell gets a knockout or pulls something off. But I'm saying Gary Russell has very good defense, as you can see. And Magsayo is just throws a lot of punches, very, very accurate, and hits it very, very hard. So So right now, just based on what I'm seeing, Mark Magsayo is taking this round, putting Gary Russell into a position where he's got to knock him out. And Gary Russell's not a knockout artist. He's an accumulation artist. He's a compiler. So, very, very interesting. However, that gash on Mark Magsayo could be the great equalizer as we're in the final minute now of the 11th round. And both guys seem to have taken a little bit of a break, kind of looking for those openings. Oh, look at that. Mark Magsayo landing on Gary Russell now. I'm telling you, this is becoming... Now you have Gary Russell trying to get Mark Magsayo into the corner. Gary Russell's got to be smart because he gets caught with something. He's shown that he can be dropped. Oh, and punching Mark Magsayo into the ropes. And, yeah, well, we're going to have to see. For all we know, this could have been an even round. We're heading into the 12th round. And both fighters tired. One judge giving it 10-8 to Gary Russell. Another judge giving it 10-9. Another judge giving it 10-9. Folks, I've never seen this in all my time of playing this game. So now Mark Magsayo up by 8 points. He just has to be standing at the end of this round, I think, to be winning. Is Gary Russell going to come on? Is he going to put it on Mark Magsayo? Is Mark Magsayo going to put it on him? Folks, this is... I don't know where we are. And he wobbles. Oh, Gary Russell wobbling Mark Magsayo. I'm telling you, this is why I love this game. There's no other boxing game like this. No other boxing game in the world like this. They would have stopped it already with Mark Magsayo's gash. You have Gary Russell landing, wobbling, looking like Joe Frazier. Mark Magsayo suddenly, and gets dropped. Has Gary Russell Jr. done it? Has he done it? Oh, and Mark Magsayo gets up. Folks, I'm telling you, is it going to be a draw? Are we going to see a draw here as Mark Magsayo gets up and now pummels Gary Russell? Gary Russell's got to be smart in how he does this. These guys are waging war in this 12th round. I'm telling you, who would have thought this is the kind of fight that we would see? And now you have, and these guys are just throwing all caution to the wind. What a great, technical, entertaining fight. It's been filled with technical. It's been filled with knockdowns. It's and right now Gary Russell could be putting himself in the driver's seat. He could pull this off if it goes 10-8 for him, or he gets some 10-7s on there. I mean, maybe he gets a draw. I don't know. Right now he's behind by 8 points, so it'd be interesting to see if he can make that up in a round. He's already gotten a knockdown. He's already punching him in the ropes. He already has Magsayo hurt. So now it's going to be up. The onus is on Magsayo. Can Gary Russell pull this off in the final round? We know that he's tired. Now's not the time. And Magsayo seems to be out on his feet, folks. But just as I say that, Magsayo comes back with a right hand. I'm so curious. I want this to go to a decision, but I have a feeling that it could get stopped any minute now because we're in the final minute now. I'm curious. Has Gary Russell done it again? Has he just pulled off a tremendous performance, like where he was there all the way, he hung in there till the end, and this is what happens. This is boxing. That's what I'm saying. No other boxing game would have let it get like this. You wouldn't have seen the twists and the turns. I don't care what the game is. I don't care. This is why Sierra Championship Boxing is the best boxing game ever. The best. For sheer being like boxing. We're now in the final 30 seconds. Wow, folks. Gary Russell, Mark Magsayo. Has Gary Russell done it? Has he eked out a draw? Has he eked out a decision? We're gonna have to see. It's gonna be interesting to see. And he wobbles and drops Mark Magsayo again. Oh wow. Oh folks, it doesn't look like Magsayo is gonna get up. Folks, has Gary Russell done it? Has he finally done it? Has he done it? Looks like he's done it. Looks like he's done it against Mark Magsayo. And he does it in the final seconds. The computer doesn't have to do it. Gary Russell Jr. knocking Mark Magsayo out. Wow, folks. What a great fight to begin 2022. The winner is Gary Russell Jr. by knockout. The fight lasted 2 rounds. Gary Russell Jr. was knocked down 1 time. Magsayo was knocked down 2 times. Has a gash over his eye. As you can see behind unanimously on all the judges' scorecards, Magsayo up 106 to 104, 107 to 102, 105 to 104. But Gary Russell Jr. hangs in there, gets in there, lets Mark Magsayo punch himself out, and comes on at the end. What a great fight. I cannot believe what I've just seen. I love this game. I love boxing. Thank you so much for tuning in to Boxing Time TV. If you like what you've seen, please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share these links with your family and friends. Please like, comment, and follow. Give us a like on Boxing Time with Evan on Instagram. Thank you so much once again for tuning in. This has been Boxing Time TV, where our motto here is why wait, watch it now, then watch the real thing when it airs and compare. Thank you so much.